Hi, welcome to Astrology for Gann Traders. My name is Olga Morales. I haven't done one of these videos for a while. Today I'm going to be looking at how history repeats. And a quote from Gann: "The future is but a repetition of the past." So, in Tunnel Through the Air, in 1927, Gann actually wrote a novel called The Tunnel Through the Air, in which he encoded his trading secrets. Gann made some amazing predictions and forecasts within its pages. And if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And to quote from the book, he'd figured out from the Bible that the time of trouble such as the world had never seen would begin in 1927 and would continue until 1932. There would be war, famine and pestilence all over the earth. That's page 41. And again, it will get worse in 1931 when many other nations will join against us. The end will not come until the summer or fall of 1932. That's page 300. So what was happening astrologically between 1927 and 1932? Now you can see what's happening plotted on a eighth harmonic on a graphic ephemeris. You can see the obvious clustering of planets in this time between 0 and 30. This is all the cardinal area when you're looking at the graphic ephemeris. So you can see them all clustering together, and this is where the many nations are coming against us. There's a lot of trouble in Tunnel Through the Air. So basically what it was at the time, all those clustering, you can see all the colours of the lines and the planets. We had Saturn was square Uranus and opposite Pluto and Jupiter, and this is basically a classic T-square configuration. And as a midpoint, it's written as Uranus equals Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter. Now, if you have Reinhold Albertin's book, Combination of Stellar Influences, you can read about what these midpoints mean, and his words are sudden acts of violence, the sudden loss of one's fortune or possession. So we've got some hard energy. Now, let's have a look at one page. Actually, this date is in Tunnel Through the Air, and you can see what I was talking about. Basically, all those lines coming together are all these red aspects. If you're new to astrology, the red aspect, the squares, oppositions, the semi-squares, the sesquiquadrate, they're what we call an eighth harmonic. And once you plot them on the eighth harmonic, they all come together or across the dial. So you can see that they're called hard aspects. This is what Eberton and Whitty were focusing on their research, is hard aspects react, whereas the soft aspects aren't noticed as much as the hard aspects. So you can see all this clustering, and they're in cardinal signs, which is Cancer, Capricorn and Aries. So we've got one on the side here, which is Libra. There's nothing in at that time. Okay, so when you put them on the 90-degree dial, all those hard aspects, the squares and the oppositions, they're going to come together on the dial. And this what makes it a lot easier for people to see this hard energy. Okay, so this is a fourth harmonic on this side. Anything across the dial from that point, it has to be 45 or 135 degrees from that point. Okay, so on a mundane level, just go back to that. On a mundane level, actually in September 20, 1931, there was a major crisis when Britain devalued the pound as it was forced off the gold standard, and this led to riots and closures of the London Stock Exchange for 2 days. A couple of weeks later, the panic also spread into Wall Street, closing the New York Stock Exchange on the 5th of October, which was actually predicted in Tunnel Through the Air a few days earlier by Gann. Now, let's have a look at how the Dow Jones reacted when these hard aspects were exact. So we're looking back here. Basically, I've just plotted all these aspects on the chart from 1930 to the end of 1932, and you can just see what those outer planets coming on a hard aspect and the turns in the market. Now, we're 84 years on since Gann wrote Tunnel Through the Air, and is history repeating? This is actually, again, a graphic ephemeris for last year and this year. And you can see a lot of the clustering energy again. Again, we've got them coming in the cardinal area, which has brought some significant lows in the market. Okay, so just have a look at my notes. What's happening at the moment is, again, Uranus, the planet of revolution, has made a complete revolution and returned to the sign of Aries as it was in 1927 when Gann published his novel. Pluto has travelled from Cancer to Capricorn, and Saturn from Capricorn to Libra. It's done two revolutions, so 2 and a bit. Now, Gann instructs you in Tunnel Through the Air to read the Bible, as it is replete with astrological symbolism. So Saturn in Libra is said to be exalted, showing strength in terms of his adversity. Libra is a sign of harvest, and Saturn restricts the reaping as a natural antagonist to the Sun in Aries. Now, in terms of Bible symbolism, Saturn is Satan as the Antichrist against the Lamb of God, and the Lamb of God is the Sun in Aries. So Uranus in Aries is a natural opponent to the Saturn in Libra. His sudden, zealous reforms for freedom against Saturn's stable, dutiful need for tradition. So we've got these dual, totally opposite extremes pulling against one another. Now, since 2010, we've had the same planets clashing at hard aspects in cardinal signs as back in Gann's time. Okay, we've got Saturn formed an opposition to Uranus, Jupiter, both square Pluto, and this midpoint structure we would call as Pluto equals Saturn, Uranus, and Jupiter. Basically, we can have a look at all them clustering it down here. Okay, similar to that clustering we had in 1931-32. So basically, what we've got at the moment, the key words for this midpoint structure again is acts of violence, brutality, rebellion, harm through force, the urge for freedom and provocative action. And we've witnessed waves of revolutionary riots with Uranus and Aries all over the world against governments, which is Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto and Capricorn is bringing governments down, transforming authority, and the reaping of what has been sown in the past with Saturn in Libra. So globally, governments have imposed, or have been imposing by force, austerity measures to balance their economic woes, infuriating the masses, leading to violent riots and wars. This is an evolutionary karmic cycle we're witnessing, where the old will be torn down and replaced with the new. Society will no longer be bound by falsehood. Pluto in Capricorn will transform all forms of power, government and authority. Uranus in Aries will issue a fighting spirit and the breaking down of old restrictive status quos, and Saturn in Libra demands justice, equality and balance after the harvest. So, you know, at this time, as I'm presenting here, we've had this movement called Occupy Wall Street, the thousands of angry activists, backed for the first time by trade unions, have held their largest march in New York City. Over 5,000 protesters, angry that their taxes were used to prop up banks in the 2008 financial crisis. I expect that these types of protests will gather monumental momentum as a global consciousness reaches a critical mass, and a new paradigm shift will encompass our world. And we can see it actually moving globally. They're doing something in Melbourne this weekend. It's going to be called Occupy Melbourne, and I think it's just going to take off. People taking back and protesting against what authority has imposed upon them through greed and their own selfish aim. So looking forward, we can see that we've got a long way to go, and in 2012 we have even more clashes to bear. Uranus will square Pluto again on the 24th of June and the 19th of September. Jupiter will square Neptune on the 25th of June and will form a sesquiquadrate to Saturn in its synodic cycle on the 21st of July and the 16th of October. You can see the clustering here, so that time is going to be pivotal in that May to July, and then also in that September-October period. Again, there's that, you know, that hardness about what's happening. It's like the reality of what's been happening here is just going to be a very important time in 2012. So keep those dates in your diary and look out for them. Okay, thank you for listening, and Astrology for Gann traders. See you now.